All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the Royal We Live. Happy Monday night to you guys. I'm so glad that you guys are joining me on this Monday night, and I'm excited to come back after this weekend and to talk about what we're going to be talking about tonight, which is loneliness coming out of narcissistic abuse. And this lonely experience is actually quite important to personal growth, and that's what we're going to be talking about in tonight's live stream. But before we get to the topic, I want to take a moment just to say hi to some people who are signing on. And hi, everybody. It's good to see you guys there. And I'm looking forward to hearing everything that you guys have to say about tonight's topic of feeling lonely coming out of narcissistic abuse. How are you guys doing tonight, by the way? How was your weekend? Hey, Andrea, how are you? Carla, LaRonda, Tanya, how are you doing? For the love of music, how are you? Hi, guys. Hi, Dee Dee. Soaring Feather, how are you? Hey, Kathy, how's it going? Linda K, hi. Live Life Happy. Hi, Trish, how are you guys? It's good to see you guys all here. I love that you are here, Natalie. Thank you for being here. Soaring Feather. Lee, how are you guys? It's good to see you. Hi, D-Doll. How are you? You're too busy. Too busy to what? Let me stretch this out so I can see all of what that says. To be lonely. Good for you. Too busy to be lonely. I like that response. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and jump into tonight's topic because it's actually a video that I am just about wrapped up with. It's going to be an organic video that I'm uploading, and I'm going to be talking about dealing with loneliness coming out of narcissistic abuse and the difference between loneliness and solitude. And by the way, there's the phone number, guys, so you guys can go ahead and call in. Make sure you get the telephone number down so that you can call in tonight and share your experiences. But let's go ahead and get into this conversation, this topic of feeling lonely coming out of narcissistic abuse. So first of all, what is loneliness? Loneliness is actually a subjective, negative emotional response. It's very subjective, which means that you can experience loneliness. Obviously, if you are by yourself and no one's around, you can just be overcome with this subjective experience of negative emotions. But you can also experience loneliness when you're with a person. And this is obviously true. And each one of you know this to be true because you've dealt with abusive narcissists. And you know that in a relationship with a narcissist, you feel lonely. You feel alone a lot of the time. Now, why is this? Well, because it's a subjective, negative, emotional response that is dealing in the realm of being with a person who treats you like you're not there. They don't care about your concerns. They don't listen to you. You're not heard. You don't have a voice. You don't have an opinion. You're not given an opportunity to speak your mind. You're shut up. You're told that you don't make any sense. You're told you're toxic, and then you're smeared, and then you're called names. And so even in this relationship where you're present with somebody and somebody is there with you, you can feel very alone with that subjective feeling, those negative emotions, right? And that's not the only place. We could take it a step further, and we could also talk about how you can have the same feeling. And typically coming out of narcissistic abuse, you do feel this way, where you can be in large groups of people. You could be out in the streets. You can be out on the town. You could be at a party, or you can be somewhere where there's a lot of people who are enjoying their time. But for some reason, you are overcome with once again, the subjective experience of negative emotions that makes you feel lonely. And that's a result of just not connecting with the environment. You don't have any connection there. You don't feel like you belong there. This is absolutely very real. So what does all of this say? And I'm going to summarize it and make it brief. I believe, and this is based on my own experience and stories that I've heard, that this loneliness, this subjective experience of feeling these negative emotions is actually your body and your mind and your spirit's way of drawing you and trying to draw you into a place of solitude. Solitude is a very important place to be. Solitude is where you gather yourself. It's where you relearn how to love yourself. It's where your body, your mind, your spirit, everything about you realizes that you have given up way too much of yourself. You have bought in too much to the outside world. You've become distracted with what's going on in the outside world. You've let the opinion of others matter more than anything else. You've allowed all this stuff to influence you. You've become a yes person, saying yes, whatever you want. Yes, whatever I can give you. Yes, 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 because you felt that it was the popular thing to do. And obviously, it's easier to say yes in life than no. Why is it easier? Well, because people like you when you say yes, right? Especially in this narcissistic culture. Narcissists love you when you say yes, because that's what they're there for. They're there for you to serve them. So when you say yes to whatever the narcissist wants, they are okay. They're cool with that. Now, if you notice, when you start saying no to narcissists, this is when we run into issues, right? Because narcissists don't like the word no. They can't stand boundaries. As a matter of fact, they hate you when you start to say no to them because you're denying them. And just like children who don't get their way, and like little kids who can't stand it when they get their toy taken away, abusive narcissists can't stand it when you start to stand up for yourself and say no. Okay. So this is when you start to experience the abuse. And this, once again, leads into you feeling very alone because all you want is to be heard. You want your needs to be met. You want to be acknowledged as a human being and not just something to be played with, not just a toy, not just something to be called names. And so you're struggling with this. But what's really going on, why you're feeling this loneliness, is because everything inside of you is actually saying, get out, get into solitude, get back to a place where you love yourself and you're aware of what's going on and you love yourself more than you love this ridiculous relationship with an abusive narcissist that you have been wrapped up in. Guys, this holds true whether or not it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, a family member. It doesn't matter, right? The reality is when you get stuck in there, you become distracted from yourself and from your own well-being. You get caught up in being the yes person. And then by the time your body says, get out, you're overcome. It does this by filling you with the sensation of loneliness, the subjective negative emotions of being lonely, which is calling you out. Get into a place where you can be solitude and start to love yourself over again, guys. I hope that this makes sense to you. Hope you follow me on this. I'm going to go into more detail in the organic video that's going to be uploaded this week as soon as I wrap it up. But I want to hear now what your guys' thoughts are. We're going to have time for a few phone calls, and I'm anxious to hear what your thoughts are on this. So I'm going to go ahead and put the telephone number up there and invite you guys to call and hear what you guys have to say about this. And I just hope that you guys have had a great weekend, and I hope that your Monday has been good. And while we're waiting for the telephone call to come in, guys, I do want to give a shout out to our moderators. And Blue, if you're there, I want to give you a shout out and a big thank you for everything that you are doing. And if you guys see Blue, give her a big thank you. Also, D Doll, I see you, D. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you for everything that you're doing, posting the telephone numbers, being welcoming, and just lifting people up and sharing. That's what the Royal We community is all about. So I thank you for that. And Taylor Zabel, if you were there as well, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. And guys, if anybody else out there is interested in becoming a moderator on the Royal We, you are welcome. I just ask that you have a little bit of time in watching the Royal We videos so you understand the message and what it pertains to, and also somewhat of a no contact already in place. Okay, that's important. Now we got a call from Indiana. I'm going to go ahead and take that call from Indiana. Caller, you are live on the Royal We. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. What's going on?
Actually, I just started catching your show on YouTube just in the last week, and it's been very, very interesting. I'm very much kind of caught up in it and subscribed to it. So this is the first time I've been in on the live chat, but I thought, I'm just going to kind of have my voice heard here as well. So,
well, that's more than welcome here. This is the place to do it. It's a safe place to be able to talk about what you need to get out and any questions that you might have pertaining to where you're at right now.
All right. And with your topic being tonight, loneliness, that's something I kind of wanted to bring up because it's something I've really, really, really struggled with. I was in a marriage for 30 plus years with a narcissist and a gaslighter. It took me a long time to really realize that's what I was dealing with. And I experienced a motor vehicle accident in the late part of 2016 was hit by a semi-cab and experienced traumatic brain injury. I've been a nurse for many years, but never worked with brain patients, always worked in OB. So dealing with anxiety and depression and things like that was a whole new ball game for me in many ways.
Right.
And dealt very much real quickly, even though we had been in a trial separation for 2 weeks prior to the wreck. When I came home from the hospital, one of the things that he did not approve of that I did was he smoked cigars, but I smoked cigarettes, and he didn't approve of that. So when we left the hospital, he basically set the guideline down. You've had 16 days of no nicotine. You're not to start smoking. But anxiety was high from the traumatic brain injury. So unfortunately, I did start smoking again. And he basically at that point told me that I needed to get out, take my stuff, and get myself back to work. And I had been told by doctors I wasn't ready to go back to work. But he said, well, then go on welfare. And so I tried really hard to kind of, what should I say, prove to myself and everyone else that I can do this, but it really gave me a lot of setbacks. And through that whole process, I've been trying to deal with the wreck, the fact that he continued to be a narcissist through the divorce proceedings and a lot of the things that he said to me and the way he treated me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was alone. And so it was extremely difficult because it's hard to be alone in general, but when you've had a traumatic brain injury,
Sure.
that's even a worse time to have loneliness and not have anybody around.
Right.
So,
right.
It's been a heck of a battle and a path. So I still struggle with what do I do with the loneliness, and how do I find a way to, find that solitude and be comfortable with it and find a way to love myself just who I am.
Sure.
I don't have to have anything else.
Well, when you deal with that type of abandonment, which is what it is, you gave 30 years of your life and then you experienced this accident and you reached a very low and critical point in your life, and which caused an abandonment to come up with somebody who you expected and thought would be there, right? So this changes your whole perception. It changes your whole view of people, of men, of reality, of the world we live in, and it should.
I don't trust. Absolutely, that's exactly what it said.
And that's the purpose. And that's the purpose of going into. And that's the purpose of going into a time of solitude, right? Because when you are overcome with these feelings of being alone, it's your body's way of saying, okay, get into a place of solitude where you can become more aware now, and your eyes are opening. We've made mention here before of like taking the red pill. You wake up and you realize who and what you're dealing with. You realize you're reminded again of where you are. And where are you? You're on Earth, right? You're here with the rest of us on this planet, okay? Or planet, whatever you want to call it, on this ground, on this dirt. And here's all we really know. This is all that's really true about the Earth that we live on, right? Is that we are here. That if you look at it from the ancient Hebraic perspective, it's cursed, right? That's the very first thing that says in Genesis is cursed is the ground because of you. So we know the place is cursed. We're here for a short temporary time, right? And so horrible things happen to people all over the place. And we are now called to take a real good look at ourselves and how to best be able to take care of ourselves, right? To the best of our ability.
Right.
This is what solitude does. And, but it's a very tragic and sad story to hear that you went through that and that you were abandoned by a narcissistic man who you loved. It's very sad, very sad.
Right. But we had some marriage problems, so I'm not saying that the divorce shouldn't have happened, but the way he pulled the rug out at a time when it shouldn't have been pulled out. And I'm a caregiver by nature, so I've even given the example, because it's actually damaged relationship with 2 of my 3 boys in some ways. And I even gave the example to them, reverse the shoes. You guys know my heart. You know my heart. If we turned this around and it was him that had been in the accident, I wouldn't have pulled the rug out.
It would have been. Well, but now you're getting into the difference between a person who's an empath and compassionate versus a person who's narcissistic, right?
Right.
Exactly. And so, good for you for being that person. However, you spent the majority of your life with somebody who's not that person, right?
Right.
And so this is Yeah, and this is our call, and this is one of the things we got to, we have to just really pay attention to in our life is this idea that because we're this compassionate person, that everybody we come across is also going to be that way. And man, we're getting beat up left and right because that's not the truth and it's not reality. And we end up finding
Right.
out we've been suckered and duped and lied to, and it's really just
Exactly.
causing us to really take a good hard look at our own boundaries and the type of people we're associating with and all that stuff. All that stuff. So,
Right.
but it sounds like
And I have found that.
it sounds like you're doing really good, and you're with us here tonight. So accident aside and everything that's gone on, and we understand the feelings of loneliness, but these things will resolve and work themselves out.
Right. The one thing that I want to say that I've learned from everything too, not just from the narcissist side, but everything else, people who have come from that type of relationship, unfortunately, because we are often empaths and very compassionate and caregiving, and we're trying to do everything to make them happy,
Mm-hmm.
we find ourselves very often pulled back into relationships with that same type of person. I don't know why, because it's like, no, 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 I do not want to go back down that path and find another narcissist. But because
Right.
we're caregivers, we have a tendency to easily get duped into that. And so that, to me, that's just kind of a warning to everybody out there that's in the middle of a narcissistic relationship or coming out of one. Put the caution lights up, because you are
Sure.
going to be very easily drawn back to that same type of a person. And that is not what you need if you're going to get out of all of this and recover and
Sure.
find maybe someday a relationship with somebody that's the right relationship.
Right.
Maybe I'll be alone the rest of my life. I don't know. It doesn't matter at this point. I've just got to find a place to find me and say, that's all I need.
And that's
Anything
it.
else?
And that's what
Bonus.
loneliness, that's what the time of loneliness represents. That's what being solitude represents. It's the time to find you and love you. So the reality of what you're talking about of getting suckered back into these relationships, has some it's 50-50. It's in part your empathic ability and compassion to want to be there for somebody else, but it's also in part your need and desire because empaths, we tend to wear our emotions on our sleeves. And so when somebody comes up and gets in our face going, hey, I like you. I'll treat you right. I'll never leave you. I'll never leave you. I'll always be there for you. And yada, yada, yada. And you're the best. And you're amazing. And you're so compassionate. You're so amazing. And they say every magical word. It's real easy to get filled with those emotions that you wear on your sleeve as an empath and go, ooh, I like this guy. I like this dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can hang out with
Right.
me. Come on. And then before you know it, you're inviting them in your life, in your house, in your room. And then within, 2-week time period, and then you find out that, well, they got what they were in it for, and now they're out. Right. So you
Right.
do have to be careful. And by learning by taking the time to have solitude in your life, learning to love yourself and know your boundaries and know your worth and know your value, you won't fall for that nonsense. Someone coming around going, ooh, you're cute and you're compassionate, blah, 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 blah. You're going to be, dude, thank you, but I don't know you. Shut up. Quit annoying me,
Exactly.
right? You're spilling this nonsense all over me. It sounds good, but I don't know you, right? And this is how we have to be in
Right.
a world of narcissistic abuse. You have to know that you know that you know that you know who and what you're dealing with, right? So
Right.
thank you so much
And
for
I think
calling.
because you're welcome. Thank you, and thanks for listening. So it was good to be able to share. And like I
Yeah.
said, if anything else, I'm hoping that other people learn from some of my mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning. But you know what? Life is a lifelong lesson. That's
Right.
just all there is to it. So.
Right. Yes, it is. Thank you. Thanks for calling.
Uh-huh.
All righty. Good night.
Uh-huh. Bye.
All right, guys. Telephone line is back open. Appreciate that telephone call. And yes, it is easy when you are out of an abusive relationship to fall right back into that same trap. A lot of this comes from a desire to not want to experience being alone, being afraid of being alone, being afraid of solitude, being afraid of that self-discovery process, because it's a lot easier to be distracted by the words and the cares of somebody else. And initially, narcissists are great at doing that. They come in and they act like they are just the savior of everything that's going on, right? They will do everything from paint your fence to change the oil in your car, to change your tires, to whatever, right? And they really will. And it'll just knock your socks off if you're not careful. And typically it does. And they do it with such aggression because, again, abusive narcissists come at you as though they're the best at everything. So there's nothing that they can't do. You got a leaky faucet, they're in there fixing that, right? And it just so happens to be when you are at a very lonely place where you have not yet pulled into a place of solitude, but are instead just drenched in these this subjective negative emotions of loneliness. And so it's the perfect distraction to get you out of that and to pull you away from a real good chance of going into solitude. And I always recommend, guys, that when you come out of an abusive situation or any kind of trauma in life, it's the time to go into solitude. It's not the time to fall for a distraction, to fall into a feel good, presentation brought on by some trickster, which is what abusive narcissists are. They're just tricksters. They don't care. They smell like wolves are able to smell wounded animals. They smell that woundedness. They smell this might be easy. This person's in need right now. I can do this and this and this and put air in her tire and, or I can do this, and then I can, get what I want out of it. So be very careful, very cautious. Anytime you experience a traumatic experience in life, accident, loss of a loved one, loss of a job, any of these things, draw back into a time of solitude. Go for prayer, go for counseling, go for therapy, go for group collective work with trusted, healthy people like this community right here on the Royal We. But do not get involved with some slick Rick that comes up to you. Or, for you guys, don't go for some hot, dolled up, tightly dressed, woman in the red dress. Don't do it, right? I know the package looks good. It's wrapped up nice. It looks like it has the promise of everything you could want in life. But no, that's not where it's at, right? All right, guys. And we're going to wait for another phone call. I would like to let you know that if you would like to support the Royal We and help contribute to the ongoing live shows that are on a nightly basis, you're welcome to donate to the Royal We through the PayPal link on the Royal We home page. So if you go to the YouTube homepage, you'll see the PayPal link in the upper hand corner. And there is a link in the description box, but from what I gather, that link does not work. I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with that. But there is a link that does work there. We got a call from California. Hang on one second, California. There is a link that I know works for sure, and that's the merchandise work. So if you'd like to support the Royal We channel and also support some merchandise, which is an excellent way to support the Royal We while you're out and doing some daily activities, doing some shopping, and people can be like, hey, what's the Royal We? And you could say, well, I'm one of them. And so it's a great conversation piece. But you can find out more about the Royal We merchandise and t-shirts in the description box below this video. Click on the merchandise link and it will take you to the store where you can check all that stuff out. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and go to California, my old stomping grounds. You're live on the Royal We. And how are you?
Hello. Wow, it's really nice to talk to you. I've been watching your videos for almost the past year, and I never called. I was always too scared
Well,
or nervous.
About time you called.
Okay, well, I've been going through this. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you so much for your knowledge and your wisdom and your outlook on things. It's helped me so much. You're like my online counselor. You're very encouraging.
Thank you.
you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, I pretty much have just discovered that my family has completely betrayed me, and I've been their scapegoat this whole time. Like, everything that I'm finding out and putting together, just this horrible feeling that I have, this oppression that they put on me, this negativity and this heaviness, this unbearable depression and sense of hopelessness. And I realized
is this
what my
recent? Is this recently done, or has this been something that has been building up your entire life?
This is something that's been building up my entire life, and I'm finally old enough to realize this is completely wrong. This is like so wrong. Like, what am I doing? And now the problem is I'm in my mid-20s now, and financially it's really hard to support myself and be able to pay all my bills and to get away. So I feel trapped. I really don't know what to do. I mean, I've tried getting jobs,
I've got
but I've kept.
good
I
news
don't
for
know.
you.
I mean,
I've got good news for you. All right. So you are probably you're very young, mid-20s.
yes,
You're just starting. Okay. So that's the best news in all of this. And that, and here's the deal. You're not alone. All right. You could talk to anybody in this community, and you're probably going to hear horror stories of family dynamics that are narcissistic. And I'm actually going to be doing a lot of videos on, well, not a lot, but I'm going to be doing some videos on family, being that it, for the most part, is a narcissistic hierarchy. That's what families are. And it's becoming more of this as we progress in this narcissistic culture. I mean, we've got families that act like gangs, and they're hierarchy gangs, and they get their last names tattooed on their backs or their butts or their bellies or whatever. And within this narcissistic hierarchy, they have to find position. So they have the golden children, who are the badasses or whatever, or the athletes, and then they have the scapegoats, who the scapegoats
I
carry.
definitely feel like that's what I am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one that is getting all the torture, all the
Yes.
hurt, and all the pain.
And all the family secrets, all the darkness, because here's the reality and the truth about these families. And I'm not trying to talk bad about your family. This is just in general what happens with narcissistic families. There's a lot of hurt because there's a lot of secrets in the family. There's a lot of messed up things that have gone on and the whole family. But what they do to save the face
Absolutely.
they save the face of everybody, of their hierarchy. So the grandma and grandpa have to appear spotless, even though they're a mess. The dad has to appear somewhat spotless, even though he messed up his life and it's a mess. The golden children have to appear spotless, even though they are an absolute mess. So what do they do with all of this while they're appearing spotless? Well, they throw it onto the scapegoat. You, the one who is empathetic, the one who is passionate, the one who is compassionate, the one who says, hey, let's get along, let's not fight. It's you. It's your fault. You're the bad one. You messed everybody up. Why are you causing so much problems? And they do this because you wear it. The look on your face, the way it brings you down, you feel it, you absorb it. And that's what they need. And so they've given you that position. Very sad reality of this narcissistic hierarchy that has come into these families. Instead of everybody owning their own dirt, they throw it on to somebody who allows them to, it gets them out from under the spotlight of having a messed up life. They just say that person's the bad one.
I feel completely alone. I don't know what to do. I have no boyfriend. I have no husband. I never been married. I have no children. I don't have a lot of money. I just don't even know where to begin. I've moved out, and I've had to come back because it's so financially hard, especially
California
in LA,
sucks.
California.
Oh,
it's so
yeah.
expensive, and it's really hard.
I know.
And it's not like I have all these friends to support me or to have my back. It's like I try everything, and it's like so hard. And then my bills are entwined with their financial situations, and it's like I'm trying everything to go no contact, and I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. I mean,
so here's where I would start. So first of all, I understand. I get it. Listen, I ran from California. I up and took my family and got the heck out of there, moved 5 states away to a place where it's more affordable and where there's a lot more job opportunities, and have been blessed. Okay. And I'm telling you this because it was a huge risk and it was scary. Okay. So what I'm telling you is that you've got to make some decisions that are going to be scary, but you have to make these decisions for your own life, right? And for your own benefit. You really have some choices here. You can choose to stay close to the family it's going to feel safer because of the risk that's involved in leaving. But you're going to be the scapegoat. You're going to be the one that everybody is heaping their dirt on, right? Or you can take some bold steps. You can get a job. You can get a small apartment. You don't have to leave California, but I know that there are places to go that are cheap. It's scary because you'll have to do it on your own, right? You're young enough to do
Yeah,
this. You're young enough to start, and to start like now, right? There's
that's what I have to do.
if we look at the Bible gives this instruction early on. It says, therefore, a man. This is in Genesis in the beginning of it. Therefore, a man and a woman, for that matter, shall leave the mom and dad, and that's first. Leave. So you got to leave first at some point, and get on your own 2 feet, and then cleave to a spouse. But that doesn't have to happen right away. So you don't need a boyfriend. As a matter of fact, I would caution you against getting a boyfriend during all this mess, because it's real
I could
easy.
never keep one because I'm so messed up, and I feel like a beaten, bruised puppy that they just kick around whenever they want to.
That's
Like, I
right.
just feel so
Right.
messed up.
Because you're
And I
looking
know
for
it's not right.
you're looking for a savior, and they know that. Again, abusive narcissistic guys can smell the bleeding animal. And so, like wolves can smell the bleeding animal. You're in a place where you're hurting, you're longing, you're in need. You need to get out from under your parents. You need someone to lift you up. You need the encouragement. You need this stuff, and you really need it. But you don't need it from an individual who is in the form of a guy who comes up to you and says, "Hey, baby, I'll take care of you. You know what I mean? I'll help you get a car, and I'll put air in your you know what I mean? And because those are the wolves right there that are trying to just get what they can from you and do exactly what you said,
Yeah, I
kick you
went through
around and
that.
then leave.
I went through that. And that's what led to me having to come back here because I don't want to
Right.
end up homeless on the streets. There's so many homeless young kids on the streets that are going through this abuse too. And
Right.
it's just really sad. And you're right. I had to take that step. I've gotten a job. I've gotten money and gotten out. But
Good.
it's so hard. I mean,
It
it's just really hard when you're completely alone. I mean,
it takes focus. It takes focus on what the priorities have to be. So if the focus is survival, right? Then you have to be in a place of survival. Survival doesn't require a boyfriend. Okay. Survival doesn't require any of these, good times and drinking buddies and any of that stuff. That's not survival. This is all stuff, and I know because I lived in California, this has become customary California practices. Well, you got to have a good time. This is the Sunshine State. We got to be, there's still that hippie spirit that just dwells
yeah,
over all of California, and it's hard to avoid. But we're entering a day and age where you're going to have to fight that temptation and fight that spirit that exists over and umbrellas all of California of be that hippie, have that good time, right? You've got to focus on survival. Work, work, pay your bills, live so that you can be free of the torment of living under the roof of an abusive narcissistic family, right? And then go from there.
yeah,
Go from there. Develop your boundaries.
yeah,
And and we could go step by step. I could help you with this, but get your job, get your place, develop your boundaries, start to identify who you are, what you require in life, what you're looking for in life. And then as you go out, you can start to see things in people as for friends. These what qualifies as good friends? What can you look for? What not to look for? Red flags and all this stuff, right? So it's possible. It's possible. It's a risk. You've got to be
yeah.
able to take some risks, but this is how you'll grow.
I just have to. I
And
could just start saving and take it step by step, and just I just got to get away the heaviness and the pain and the I don't even know how to put it into words. The way these people make me feel like I
yeah,
feel like the pain is just unbearable.
it's
But
hard.
you're right. I just gotta. It's not going to be easy. I realize that.
It's not. It's not. It's not.
Well,
It's
thank
it's
you.
it's definitely not going to look the way we imagined it would look, right? It can, but we have to work for it a different way. It's not just gonna it's not just gonna happen.
One step at a time. One
That's
step
it.
at a time.
That's it.
Because if it's too overwhelming, then you'll just fall back down.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. And that's why it's best to take these steps in order. Survival first, right? Boyfriend, stuff like that. Push that way out, right? That should be way back on the priority list, to be honest with you. In this type of a
Yeah.
situation, it should be how to take care of
You're
yourself,
right.
how to take care of yourself first. Then when you're comfortable with that, you know what you even need in order to help take care of you, right? So at
Yeah,
this
I
point,
need to heal first before
yeah,
I even
because
think about that.
you need a partner. You need a partner in life ultimately. Not a savior, none of that stuff, not a knight in shining armor because these things don't exist anyways,
They don't
right?
exist. You're right.
They don't. It's not real. So the best you can hope for is a partner in life, someone who you resonate with, who resonates with you, shares the same work ethics, you share the same work ethics, shares the same values and moral, and hope that that works out. But even that's difficult. All right? So it's real difficult to understand, but there's no free passes for anybody really. And um you do have to go out and focus on priorities and focus on your boundaries. All right?
I just got to keep my faith and just take it one step at a time. And I'm
Absolutely.
going to continue listening to your videos and thank you so much for your encouragement.
Thank you.
And I just got to take it step by step. And like you said, it's not going to be easy. I know it's not going to be easy. It's
Right.
just so scary being in a big world all alone. And it's like really people who have support of family or close friends really have it a lot easier than someone who's young and has to struggle by themselves to survive and
Right.
to not be consumed by this narcissistic abuse and hatred and torture.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. I would encourage you also to get involved in some support groups out there. There's one called in California. You can check out a Celebrate Recovery, things like that. These are excellent ways to get involved in collective community that's safe, right? So
Yeah, like church.
exactly, exactly, and not going there for the purpose of meeting people to date or anything like that, but just to go there just
No.
for collective community, right? It's typically it's for the most part you can run into some safe places, but obviously even in churches you got to keep one eye open. You know what I mean? And be very careful and
Yeah.
cautious about who you share your life with and things like that. But for the most part, just to have some collective community, it's a great place for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you for calling. And you're always welcome to call
Okay,
back.
thank you so much.
You're always welcome to call
All
back
right.
here too. All righty.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you.
all right. Good night.
Good night.
All right, guys. That was a great call. I'm very thankful and yes, I did leave California. I was from Southern California. I think I saw somebody ask that question. What part of California were you from, Kev? And I lived in sunny Southern California, not quite the you know there's conservative parts and this and that, but in general, I just felt like it was just a very uh, free freeing type of place environment. And I only noticed the difference because now I live in the Midwest, which is way different. The atmosphere in the Midwest is way different than the atmosphere in California. That's for sure. There's definitely just a change in the air, right? And so that's why I'm able to say that. So with that, guys, I'm going to wrap up this show tonight. I want to thank you guys for being a part of it, and thank the callers for calling. I want to thank the moderators for moderating. You guys have been great tonight. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you, and I look forward to being with you live tomorrow night, 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Royal We. Don't forget, guys, that if you would like to donate, you can do that on the homepage of the Royal We channel. There's a PayPal link there. You can also check out the merchandise down in the merchandise link below this video. The merchandise link does work. The PayPal link doesn't work, unfortunately, because PayPal's weird like that. But the merchandise link will take you to the store. Also, guys, there is a course. So for those of you who are interested in deepening your healing and understanding of narcissistic abuse, you can check out the course for the Royal We. It is available for you. It includes more one-on-one counseling with you as you work through the course, where I do work with you. And I'm about to add more to that, including a no contact strategy and a plan to stay no contact. So look forward for that for those of you who are already taking the course. And with that, guys, I want to say good night to you, and we will see you tomorrow night right here, 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Royal We. Have a great night, everybody.